What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the channel. Now we have seen many stories of teammates who have fought each other to get the most out of their car. Even though they drove for the same team, they weren't always united. Sometimes they got along well and worked together, but often they saw each other as competition. For example, Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber, Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg, Fernando Alonso and Stoffel Vandoorne, Valtteri Bottas and George Russell, or even Michael Massey and Alex Albon. These examples prove that team orders aren't always the reason for drivers being pitted against each other. The competition between them is the real reason why sometimes team bosses have to step in and make sure that everything is under control. But there are also cases in which two drivers in the same team drive differently and often end up in conflict because of their different approaches to driving the car. So what's happening with Daniel Ricciardo, and how come his teammate, Lando Norris, is performing so much better than him? The stats so far don't lie. McLaren's MCL36 has been mostly a good car, even if it's not as quick as the Red Bull. But McLaren are by no means bottom of the table. They're sitting in 5th place. The problem is that Lando Norris has scored 48 points so far, while Daniel has only managed 11. So if we add those together, McLaren would be sitting in 4th place. In other words, Daniel has contributed to less than 20% of the points his team has scored so far, even though he's a well-known driver with 8 years of experience in F1 and 32 race wins under his belt. This year, he's been nowhere to be seen. Daniel qualified in the top 10 only 3 times, scoring 2 7ths and a 4th. All of his points came from races in which he managed to finish in the top 6. He did not manage to qualify in Q3 at Silverstone and decided to retire from the rain-hit Hungarian Grand Prix, which might have been a good decision. That's a shame considering he won the last race held at the Hungaroring in 2021. This year, he was beaten by his teammate in every single session. But as mentioned, we should consider that the gap between them is not necessarily due to a bad car or poor form on Daniel's part. It's just a fact that they drive the same car in a different way, and if we dig a little deeper, we can see that it all boils down to the philosophy of the team. Most teams try to build a car that is easy to drive. As a matter of fact, this is what happens at Red Bull. Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen are very different drivers, but they share the same approach to driving. And that's why they fight tooth and nail in the media. They both like to drive a car that's stable under braking and rotation, but this kind of car doesn't suit Daniel Ricciardo. And even though he's won 8 races in an unstable car, this kind of car is his limit. On the other hand, Lando Norris loves a car that rotates easily. That's why he's usually not a threat to his teammate and why he's performing so well in 2022. Every driver has a different driving style, even if they drive the same car. And the main reason for this is that every driver has a different background. Daniel Ricciardo raced karts in Australia, while Norris did it in Europe. Karting in Europe is usually a lot more technical than karting in Australia. That's why Daniel is better at accelerating the car while turning in, while Norris is better at keeping the car at a constant speed through the corner. A driver needs to have good instincts, but instincts can't make up for poor car setup, and that's why Daniel has never been able to beat Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes. His driving style is better suited to cars that are built like Red Bulls, but not for cars like McLaren's, which are built for drivers like Lando Norris. And the data collected by the two drivers tells us something else. Daniel drives with the stability control at its maximum, while Norris keeps it at a low level. This suggests that Ricciardo needs a stable car that can't move around much, while Norris is more than happy to drive a car that has a little more play in it. So there's nothing wrong with the way Daniel is driving the car. It's just that he doesn't get along with the car. And if he wants to stay in Formula 1, he needs to find a seat in a team that builds a car that suits him. Why does that matter? Because if he stays at McLaren, he'll never be able to show the world what he's capable of. He's still one of the best drivers on the grid and can beat anyone on his day. But at McLaren, he doesn't have that stability he needs to unlock his potential. When we look at the raw pace, Norris is the quickest of the two, and he's shown that he can beat a car that's capable of fighting for the world title. If he was at Red Bull, he'd be a great teammate for Max Verstappen. Daniel, on the other hand, wouldn't be a great teammate for Verstappen because he can't compete with a car that lacks stability and downforce. Daniel's record proves it. If we look back at his time at Red Bull, he always had a car that was easy to drive and allowed him to use the tyres efficiently, and even though he never won the championship, he was able to challenge Mercedes on a few occasions. With McLaren, on the other hand, he's never been able to challenge for the world title because the car is too difficult for him to drive. Daniel needs a car that is easy to drive, but McLaren's cars are not that car, so he should consider leaving the team. So what's next for Daniel Ricciardo? Should he leave McLaren? It's a difficult question to answer because Daniel is a free agent at the end of the 2023 season. And even though he's close friends with Zak Brown, McLaren team principal, his friendship with Jost Capito, the CEO of Williams, should not be underestimated. Williams are not expected to sign Alexander Albon for another 2 years, and rumours say that they want to sign Daniel Ricciardo instead. Daniel knows that Williams are not in a position to challenge for the world title, but he might see it as an opportunity to get a car that suits him and which will let him return to his old self. So what's the verdict? Well, it's clear that Daniel's struggles are not caused by a lack of talent. He's one of the most talented drivers on the grid. It's just that he needs a car that's easy to drive, and since he's been racing in F1 for more than a decade, he knows exactly what he needs to drive at his best. Daniel is a legend in the sport and deserves to be in a car that will allow him to shine once again. Now, if you like this video, please drop a like for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.